Chapter 1: The New Teacher. My name is Jessica Miller, but everyone just calls me Jess. I'm 16 years old, living in a quiet, leafy suburb just outside of Boston. My life here is pretty standard. I live with my parents and our golden retriever, Buddy. I'm a student at Jefferson High, with big dreams of becoming a journalist one day. My afternoons are usually filled with volleyball practice or the heavy, driving beat of metal music blasting through my headphones. But this story isn't about my normal life. It starts on the day everything changed. The first day of high school. I woke up buzzing with a mix of excitement and nerves. While most of my classmates were familiar faces, a new year meant a new lineup of teachers. After a quick breakfast, I headed out the door. On my street, I met up with my best friend, Chloe. We lived just a few houses apart and had walked to school together for as long as I could remember. "I'm really hoping for some new male teachers this year," Chloe said, a mischievous glint in her eye. "And I hope they're handsome." Chloe's world often revolved around boys. "Yeah," I agreed, laughing. My life could definitely use something new and interesting. When we walked into our first classroom, a young man was already standing by the board. "Good morning, everyone," he said with a warm smile. "I'm your new science teacher, Mr. Evans. I'm looking forward to a great year with all of you." Chloe and I exchanged a look. Mr. Evans was tall and lean, with sun-streaked blonde hair and kind brown eyes. He had an easy, friendly vibe about him. "We hit the jackpot," Chloe whispered. "He's definitely handsome." "He really is," I whispered back. As I looked at him, his gaze met mine. Our eyes locked for a brief moment. "And what's your name?" he asked, his smile widening. "Jessica," I replied, feeling a blush creep up my neck. He then turned to Chloe. "And you are?" "I'm Chloe," she answered, flashing him her most enthusiastic grin. Just then, the roar of a low-flying airplane shattered the morning calm. The entire class rushed to the windows, but the rising sun was directly in our line of sight, a blinding white orb that forced us to turn away, squinting. Everyone turned away, that is, except for Mr. Evans. He stood at the window, staring directly into the sun, completely unfazed. The intense light didn't seem to bother his eyes at all. "How is he doing that?" I wondered, a flicker of confusion passing through me. The plane flew past, and the lesson continued. When the bell rang, another teacher entered. This man was a stark contrast to Mr. Evans. He had jet black hair, piercing green eyes, and a face defined by a small, pointed nose and unnervingly high cheekbones. "What a strange-looking guy," I muttered to Chloe. "Wow, you're not kidding," she breathed back. The teacher didn't smile. He spoke to the class with a chilling coldness. "I am your English teacher, Mr. Harrison. I expect your best behavior this year. The lesson will now begin. And let me be clear, there will be no talking." A wave of shock rippled through the classroom, but nobody dared to speak. Another student, Michael, raised his hand. "What is it?" the new teacher asked, his voice sharp. "Excuse me, sir, but what was your name again?" "Mr. Harrison," he answered. It was then that I noticed his voice wasn't just cold. It was flat, metallic, almost monotonous. Chloe shot me a look of pure disappointment, raising her eyebrows as if to say, "What's his problem?" The lesson proceeded. Mr. Harrison read a poem from our literature book, but his voice was completely devoid of emotion. It sounded almost robotic. I felt a tap on my arm. It was Chloe. "Isn't he awful?" she whispered. I could only nod in agreement. The other new teachers we met that morning were Ms. Garcia, the art teacher, and Mrs. Davis, who taught math. Both seemed perfectly nice. Ms. Garcia, in particular, was incredibly cheerful and warm, a welcome contrast to our English teacher. Chapter 2: Clues. I always ate lunch in the school cafeteria. That day, I sat with Chloe and our friend, Ethan Cole. Ethan was a genius, the kind of kid who always aced every math test without even trying. His home life was complicated. His parents were divorced, and he lived with his father and his sleek black cat, Shadow. He deeply missed his mother, who had remarried and didn't seem to have time for him. With his father constantly away on business, Ethan was often alone. He didn't have a lot of friends at school, mostly because his intellectual conversations went over most people's heads. He poured all his affection into Shadow. "So, what do you guys think of the new teachers?" I asked, pushing some food around my plate. "I think Mr. Evans is incredibly sexy," Chloe announced immediately. "Did you see how he stared at that airplane?" Ethan interjected. The sun didn't bother him at all. "You're right, I noticed that too," I said. "But what about Mr. Harrison? He talks like a robot. His voice is so cold and metallic. And he's completely unfriendly," Chloe added. "That's for sure," I said. "And look," Ethan suddenly whispered, nodding his head across the cafeteria. "Look what he's eating." We all turned our gaze to Mr. Harrison. He was sitting by himself, far from the other teachers. In front of him wasn't a normal lunch, but a tall glass filled with a thick, green liquid. He held a few black pills in his hand. As we watched, he dropped 2 of them into the glass. The green liquid began to fizz violently, bubbling as its color shifted, transforming into a deep, unsettling red. He then picked up the glass and drank the mysterious concoction down in one go. I looked at Ethan, and he looked back at me, our faces a mixture of disgust and alarm. Chloe tried to find a logical explanation. "Maybe it's one of those new liquid diets. That could be why he's so skinny." I wasn't convinced. There was something deeply strange about Mr. Harrison. The next day, we had English class again. Mr. Harrison came in and sat at his desk. Ethan Cole, tell me something about yourself." Ethan was taken aback. English teachers didn't usually ask such personal questions. "Well, I enjoy astronomy. I have a cat." Mr. Harrison went around the room, asking every single student to share something about their lives and hobbies. I thought, maybe he's trying to connect with us, but his cold demeanor makes it so bizarre. As I studied him more closely, I noticed something else. His eyes weren't green anymore. They seemed to be a different, darker shade. I raised my hand. "May I go to the bathroom?" I asked. As I walked toward the door, I stole another glance at Mr. Harrison's eyes. I was right. They were now a yellowish-brown, the color of amber. Chapter 3: Aliens. That afternoon, I sat on my bed, my mind racing as I replayed the first 2 days of school. I couldn't shake my curiosity about Mr. Harrison. I needed to know more, so I decided to head over to Ethan's house. I found him in his room, bathed in the glow of his computer monitor. He was a huge enthusiast of astronomy, the occult, and the possibility of life on other planets. "Hey, Ethan, what are you up to?" I asked. "I'm online with the International Space Fan Club," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. "Listen to this, Jess. Something huge is happening. A comet is currently passing through the Virgo constellation. The alignment creates the perfect conditions for intergalactic meetings. And guess what? Earth has been in the Virgo constellation since last week." "Intergalactic meetings? What are those?" I asked, confused. "They're voyages. Aliens visiting our planet," he explained. "These trips can only happen at very specific cosmic moments, like when a constellation and a comet align. They come for different reasons. Some want to study humans. Some people believe they might come to conquer the planet." I stared at Ethan, a wild idea starting to bloom in my mind. "What's wrong, Jess?" he asked, noticing my shocked expression. Maybe Mr. Harrison is an alien," I exclaimed. "Jess, don't you think you're exaggerating? Get real." "No, think about it," I insisted. "His voice isn't human. His eyes change color. And what about that green liquid and the black pills he had for lunch?" "What do you mean his eyes change color?" Ethan asked, leaning forward. "Didn't you notice? Yesterday they were green. Today, they're amber-colored," I told him. "Even if his eyes do change color, I still don't think he's an alien." "But the comet explains everything," It entered the Virgo constellation last week, and suddenly Mr. Harrison is our new teacher. I talked to Chloe's older brother, Mark. He said this is Mr. Harrison's very first year at Jefferson High. Nobody knows where he came from. Ethan's eyes suddenly lit up. Maybe that's why he'd asked all those personal questions. He wants to study us. Exactly, I said, feeling validated. You see, all the clues point to him being an alien. So, what do we do? I asked. We need to spy on him, Ethan declared. We could follow him home, see where he lives, what he does. But we have to be incredibly careful. He seems to have no emotions. He could get really angry if he finds out we suspect him. Okay, I said, my heart pounding. We'll follow him tomorrow after school. The next morning, before school, I took Buddy out for his walk in the park. My parents and I took turns, and today was mine. The park was still and quiet at dawn, the grass damp with dew. A lone bird chirped from a distant tree. Suddenly, I saw movement behind a cluster of bushes. I crept closer to see what it was. In a small clearing stood a man. He was looking up at the sky, his arms raised. He bent down, touched the grass-covered ground, and then stood straight again, his face and hands once more directed towards the heavens. After a minute, he turned around. It was Mr. Harrison. Was he communicating with his home planet? Was he really an alien? I backed away slowly and walked home as quickly as I could, grateful that Buddy hadn't made a sound. I met up with Chloe, but I didn't tell her what I had seen. It sounded too crazy, and besides, I couldn't tell her about our plan to follow him. It was too dangerous for 3 people. All morning, my mind was consumed by thoughts of Mr. Harrison. I was terrified, but also undeniably thrilled. Chapter 4: Too Much Imagination. When it was time for science class, Mr. Evans walked in with his usual bright smile. All right, everyone, today we're heading down to the science laboratory, he announced cheerfully. In the lab, there were several cages holding white mice and hamsters. As Mr. Evans walked past their cages, the small animals suddenly started squealing and scurrying around frantically. They were incredibly agitated. Mr. Evans just laughed. What's wrong, little guys? He said, speaking to the animals. Don't worry, I'm not going to eat you. He then handed each of us a worm. Your task is to cut them into small pieces, he instructed. The pieces can live and move independently. I stared down at the pale, slimy worm on my tray. The thought of cutting it up made my stomach turn. Jessica, are you afraid of cutting up your worm? I looked up to see Mr. Evans standing at my desk, smiling down at me. Here, give me your knife. I gratefully handed it to him. As he took it, his arm brushed against mine. It felt like a jolt of electricity, a sharp, tingling shock that ran up my arm and made me jump back. What's wrong, Mr. Evans asked, his expression turning to one of concern. He seemed genuinely frightened. Nothing, I stammered, trying to force a smile. He helped me cut up my worm and then moved on. No one else seemed to have noticed a thing. I didn't know what to think anymore. Were all my teachers secretly weird, or was my imagination just running wild? I scribbled a quick note to Ethan, telling him what had just happened. Ethan, I whispered. He turned around and I tried to pass him the note. Excuse me, what are you two doing? Mr. Evans's voice cut through the air, making me freeze. We were in so much trouble. Ethan, what do you have in your hand? Nothing, sir, Ethan said quickly. Please pay attention to the lesson. If I see that note again, you'll have to give it to me. I'm sorry, sir, Ethan replied. I was so relieved I almost laughed out loud. When the bell rang, Mr. Evans called me over to his desk. Oh no, I thought, but he just smiled kindly. I'm sorry if I scared you earlier, he said. 2 years ago, I was in an accident. My left arm is artificial. It's an electric prosthesis, and sometimes it can give off small electric shocks. He looked a bit embarrassed as he explained. I was stunned and immediately felt terrible. He was so sweet. I thanked him and headed to lunch. Ethan, forget what I wrote in that note, I said as I sat down at our table. I told both him and Chloe about Mr. Evans's prosthetic arm. Then, Chloe brought up Mr. Harrison. Ethan and I exchanged a quick, silent look, but we didn't say anything. Besides, Chloe had a dance club meeting in the gym after school, which meant Ethan and I were free to carry out our plan. We finished our chocolate milk and headed out for recess. At the classroom door, we nearly ran into Mr. Harrison. He was walking with his head down, seemingly lost in thought. "Hi," Chloe said to him brightly. "Oh, hi," he stammered, surprised, as he lifted his head. His eyes were green again. "Wow, that Mr. Harrison is a real mystery," Chloe remarked as we walked away. I still didn't want to tell her our whole crazy theory, so I quickly changed the subject. Just before class started, I pulled Ethan aside and told him about seeing Mr. Harrison in the park that morning. "Wow," he said. "I wonder what we're going to see this afternoon." Chapter 5. Mr. Harrison. When the final bell rang, Ethan and I found a hiding spot behind some large bushes near the school's main gate. We watched as streams of students and teachers left for the day, but there was no sign of Mr. Harrison. Minutes ticked by. "Maybe he went home in a car," I whispered, starting to feel discouraged. Just then, we saw him. A man with black hair and strikingly high cheekbones walked right past our hiding spot. "That's him," I breathed. "Wait," Ethan cautioned. "We need to give him a head start. He can't suspect we're following him." We waited for 2 long minutes. "Okay, let's go," I said. We followed him from a safe distance, eventually watching him turn and walk into a house. It was a charming, two-story pink building with a neat lawn and a large tree growing by its side. We crept up to a side window and carefully peered inside. Mr. Harrison set down his briefcase and opened the refrigerator. He took out another bottle of that awful green liquid and placed it on the table. Then, he headed upstairs. "Now what do we do?" Ethan whispered. "No problem. I can climb that tree," I said. "Are you sure?" "Of course. Don't forget, I play volleyball," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "Just be careful." I approached the tree. It wasn't too high, and the branches were perfectly placed for climbing. From my new vantage point, I had a clear view into an upstairs room. Mr. Harrison was in there. "What's happening?" Ethan whispered from below. "He's sitting in front of a mirror," I reported softly. "His hands are on his head. Oh, no." What is it?" Ethan pressed. The teacher I was watching was completely bald, and his entire scalp was covered in disgusting brown warts. I felt my stomach lurch. Suddenly, I saw my own reflection in the mirror behind him, and at the same moment he saw it too. He spun around and stared directly at me. I was paralyzed with fear, my mouth hanging open. I braced myself for the worst, but instead of anger, Mr. Harrison's face was filled with a deep, profound sadness. He opened the window. "You students think I'm weird, don't you?" he said, his voice heavy. "Come inside. I want to tell you something." "Mr. Harrison, I'm so terribly sorry," I stammered, overwhelmed with embarrassment. "Don't worry. Since you're here, please, just come in." I climbed down the tree. Ethan looked terrified. "Come on, Jess, let's get out of here before it's too late." "No, Ethan, I'm going in." I walked toward the front door, and he reluctantly followed. The teacher opened the door and led us into his living room. "Would you like something to drink?" he asked. "No, thank you," I answered quickly. "What are those warts on your head?" Ethan blurted out, completely ignoring the sharp look I shot him. "These warts, Mr. Harrison began, his voice raspy, "are the result of a throat tumor. You see, I started smoking when I was a teenager, and I continued for years. The tumor and the chemotherapy, it made me lose all of my hair, and then these warts developed. You've probably noticed my voice. The tumor destroyed my vocal cords. I now speak with a voice implant." He paused, taking a deep breath. "The tumor caused very serious changes in my life. I fell into a deep depression, and I still see a psychiatrist. I moved here hoping to start over, to find a better life in a new place. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I'm not married, and this illness has made me very lonely. People don't like to be around sickness. It makes them uncomfortable. Mr. Harrison, we feel just terrible about our behavior, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Yes, we really apologize. We hope you can forgive us, Ethan added, his own voice thick with remorse. Don't worry, he said. In a way, I'm glad this happened. I haven't talked to anyone like this in a very long time. I want to be friends with my students. That's why I asked all those questions in class. But it's very hard for me to smile or be cheerful. Please, try to understand if I seem strict or unpleasant. I smiled at him, my heart aching with sympathy. We understand, I said softly. May I ask you another question? Ethan said. Ethan, I exclaimed. It's okay, Mr. Harrison said. Ask me anything you want. What's that stuff you drink at lunch? Oh, that, he said with a faint smile. Did that scare you? The green liquid and the black pills are part of my treatment. They're filled with proteins and other nutritional substances. And why were your eyes amber-colored yesterday? Well, he said, looking a bit sheepish, I tried some colored contact lenses. I wanted to do something different, thought a new look might make me feel better. But it didn't work. Mr. Harrison, I began, I saw you in the park this morning. Ah, yes. I must have appeared very strange to you, with all those movements, he said. My doctor suggested early morning exercise in the fresh air. You two really have been watching me closely these last few days, I must say. Ethan and I looked at each other, a shared wave of shame washing over us. We had been so rude, so inconsiderate. Well, Mr. Harrison, we don't know how to thank you for your hospitality and kindness, I said. We really don't deserve it. That's enough of that. Don't worry, he said. Thank you for your company. I'll see you tomorrow at school. And remember, if you ever want to come and visit, you are always welcome. Thank you very much. We'll come again, Ethan promised. As Ethan and I walked away from Mr. Harrison's house, a heavy silence hung between us. Well, I think we've learned a valuable lesson today, Ethan finally said. We have to remember that there are a lot of people in this world who are suffering. People have problems, and if they act in strange ways, there are usually reasons for it. There isn't an alien behind every bush. There's just a person like you and me, and maybe that person just needs a friend. I looked at Ethan with a newfound admiration. His words perfectly mirrored my own thoughts. We had let our imaginations and our superficial judgments get the better of us, making us blind to real human feelings and struggles. I thought about Mr. Evans and his prosthetic arm, and how quickly I had jumped to ridiculous conclusions in that case, too. Ethan, I said, I think we should celebrate the end of this adventure. I feel so relieved. Let's go to the Rainbow Cafe and get some ice cream. That's a great idea, Jess. Let's call Chloe, too, he suggested. Definitely, I agreed. It's time we told her everything. We stopped at Chloe's house and invited her to join us. Chapter 6. Thanks to a missing watch, we found a booth at the Rainbow Cafe and ordered 3 massive sundaes. Chloe, we have some news about Mr. Harrison, I began. Yeah, and it's a very long story, Ethan added. We told her everything. The news about the comet and the intergalactic meetings, our plan to spy on Mr. Harrison, and finally, the teacher's tragic and heartbreaking story. As we spoke, Chloe's expression shifted from surprise to worry, and finally, to deep shame. Our class needs to be so much nicer to him, she said quietly. But this comet, do you think aliens might still come to Earth? Chloe, please, I groaned. I don't even want to hear the word alien right now. Let's keep our eyes open for people who need our help, not for aliens, Ethan added firmly. Okay, I'm sorry, she said. From our booth, I noticed that the sky outside had grown dark. I glanced at my wrist to check the time, but my watch was gone. Oh no, my watch, I exclaimed. Then I remembered. I left it in the gym. I took it off during recess to play volleyball. I have to go get it, I said, standing up. Jess, I'm sure the janitor found it and put it somewhere safe, Ethan reasoned. I don't trust him, I said. That watch is too important to me. It was a gift from my grandfather before he died. It's the only thing I have left of him. I have to go to the school right now. But the school's closed by now, Chloe pointed out. No, not tonight. I remembered. Mrs. Davis is there all evening preparing for some math tests. I heard her telling Ms. Garcia. Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. I need to get home and start my homework, Ethan said. Me too, Chloe agreed. We left the cafe, and I headed towards Jefferson High. The back door was unlocked, just as I'd hoped. I went inside. The gym was on the ground floor, but for some reason, I didn't go there. Something stopped me. A strange, inexplicable feeling washed over me, a pull that I couldn't resist. Something was urging me to go up the stairs, towards the classrooms. I felt a chill run down my spine. The school was dark and eerily silent. Where am I going? Why am I climbing these stairs? I thought, my heart hammering against my ribs. I had a dreadful sense that something terrible was waiting for me at the top of the stairs, but I couldn't turn back. Some mysterious force was compelling me forward. On the third floor, I heard a noise. A faint, muffled moaning. As I passed the janitor's closet, the sound grew louder. Someone was in trouble. I slowly opened the door. It was Mrs. Davis. The elderly teacher was tied to a chair, her hands and feet bound. A gag was stuffed in her mouth, and her eyes were wide with terror. Mrs. Davis, I whispered, rushing to her side and pulling the cloth from her mouth. Help, she rasped. Someone is doing something wrong. He's here now. That person is in disguise. Okay, Mrs. Davis, stay here. Whoever it is can't know you're free, I said, my mind racing. I gently placed the cloth back in her mouth and slipped out of the closet. I crept down the hall to the second floor. The long, dark corridor was terrifying. Then I saw it, a sliver of light coming from under the door of the computer room. I tiptoed to the door. Someone was inside, working on a computer. I could hear the rapid clicking of fingers on a keyboard. Slowly, carefully, I pushed the door open just a crack. It was Mr. Evans. He was typing a string of complex code onto the screen. It looked like a password. He then took a small plastic object from his pocket, something that looked like a key, and inserted it into the computer's disk drive. The screen went black, flickered, and then a new image appeared. It was the face of an alien. It had a large, green head and huge, red eyes. It had no hair, no nose, and its mouth and ears were tiny slits. Then I watched in horror as Mr. Evans put his hands to his own head. He started pulling at his hair, and it began to come apart. He was taking off his hair and his face. Underneath the mask, a bald, green head emerged. He looked identical to the alien on the screen. He placed the false human face on the computer desk. The false Mr. Evans started talking. Xyler calls base. This is Xyler. Do you read me? We read you, Xyler, the alien on the screen responded, its voice tinny and mechanical. How is your mission proceeding? For now, everything is okay, but I am already tired of wearing this mask, and I hate speaking this barbarian language. English is not a barbarian language, I thought, a surge of anger rising in me. I am sorry, but your voice implant must remain in place until the mission is complete. The alien said, Tell me, does anyone suspect you? No, I do not think so. I had a small problem with an old math teacher, but she was in disguise and I have tied her up in a closet. So, everything is fine. Ha, you're wrong. I'm here now. I thought. I hope you are right. Our mission cannot fail. The spaceship is scheduled to arrive this Friday. We will land in the old abandoned airfield. We will wait for you there by 9:30 p.m. You must be ready. You must have the 2 students to take to Matrax. We cannot be late, the alien on the screen continued. When the comet leaves the Virgo constellation, we will no longer be able to travel. The intergalactic doors close on Friday at midnight. I know. Don't worry. I still must choose the two students, but I think I know who I want. How will you capture them? You cannot touch them because you are electric. So the story about his prosthesis was a complete lie, I realized, on Friday evening. There is a parent-teacher meeting, Mr. Adams. No, Siler explained. During the meeting, I will excuse myself. While the parents are occupied, I will ask the students to come with me. I will invent an excuse. I will take them to the science lab and spray them with my hypnotizing spray. Once they are hypnotized, they will do whatever I say. We will leave the building through the fire escape and walk to the airfield. I'm sure he wants me, I thought, my blood running cold. Be at the airfield by 9:30 p.m. then, Siler. Good luck, Al Tank Pilks. Al Tank Pilks, Gortz, Siler replied to the alien on the screen. He removed the key, and the computer screen returned to normal. I silently pulled the door shut and raced back to Mrs. Davis. I can't tell you anything, I whispered urgently. It's for your own safety. Just act normal, and no one will hurt you. Who? She started to ask, but I was already gone, flying down the stairs and out of the building. I didn't stop running until I was blocks away from the school. My watch was still in the gym, but at that moment, I couldn't have cared less. I had a very hard time sleeping that night. I knew I had to tell Ethan and Chloe, but no one else. No one else would ever believe me. Chapter 7 The Plan. The next morning, the first thing I did when I got to school was go to the gym to find my watch. To my relief, it was still there. At lunchtime, I pulled Ethan and Chloe to an empty corner of the cafeteria. I decided to get straight to the point. Mr. Evans is an alien, I said. No, not again. Are you serious? Ethan exclaimed, his voice sharp with frustration. I thought we were done with this. I thought you were ashamed of your behavior. First Mr. Harrison, now Mr. Evans. He shook his head while Chloe just raised her eyebrows, trying to suppress a smile. I know I sound crazy, I said, feeling tears welling up in my eyes. But I am telling you the truth. I saw him with my own eyes. Please, just listen to me. I recounted everything, from the strange feeling that led me upstairs to the chilling conversation between Zyler and the alien on the computer screen. By the time I finished, both of my friends were staring at me, their faces pale with shock and terror. They finally believed me. And remember, I added how he looked directly at the sun? It all makes sense now. It's incredible, Chloe whispered. He's green, and his name is Siler. Other aliens are coming in a spaceship on Friday evening, I continued. They're going to land at the old abandoned airfield near the school. They want to take 2 students with them to a planet called Metrax. Metrax? Ethan repeated, and this is all happening this Friday, Chloe added, during the parent-teacher meeting. He's going to use a hypnotizing spray to take them to the spaceship. Today is Thursday, Ethan said, his voice grim. We only have one day to do something. I have an idea, I said. What is it? They both asked. We can find his hypnotizing spray and take it from him. It can only be in one of 2 places, somewhere in his house or somewhere in the science lab. Good idea, Ethan agreed. This afternoon, after he goes home, we can search the lab. If the spray isn't there, then tomorrow morning we'll skip school, find a way into his house, and take it. But we don't even know where he lives, Chloe objected. We'll find out, I said determinedly. Chloe, maybe your brother Mark can help us. He has a master key that opens all the doors, doesn't he? Are you sure he'll give it to you? I don't think he's going to believe this story, I said. Of course not, she replied. There's no way he'd believe something like this. I'll have to borrow the key. I just hope he doesn't notice. Stealing a master key from a police officer is a huge crime, Ethan pointed out. Yes, but it's the only way, Chloe said. Don't worry, I'll be careful. She sighed. It's so hard to believe that Mr. Evans, so friendly and handsome, is actually a horrible green alien. Okay, I said, taking charge. This afternoon, Chloe, you get the key. And remember, not a word of this to anyone. This is our secret. Don't worry, Chloe promised. I just hope everything will be okay, Ethan said, his voice filled with doubt. We headed to our afternoon classes, my mind racing. I couldn't wait for the school day to be over. Chapter 8, Ethan's Decision. I kept thinking about the previous night, about the moment Siler peeled off his human face. Behind the blonde hair was a bald, green head. Behind the warm brown eyes were two piercing red ones, and behind his nose there was nothing. I shuddered at the memory. After school, Chloe and I went to her house. Ethan stayed behind at school to make sure Zyler had gone home for the day. When we got to Chloe's house, no one was there. I hope Mark didn't take the key with him, she said nervously. We went inside, and Chloe disappeared into her brother's room. I heard the sound of drawers opening and closing. I crossed my fingers. Here it is, she exclaimed, emerging with the key. Great, now let's get back to school, I said. Wait, my mom will be home soon. I need to leave her a note. I'll just tell her I'm at the library, Chloe said. We hurried back to school, where Ethan was waiting for us on the front steps. Has Siler left? I asked. Yes, we can go in, he answered. We made our way up to the science lab. As we approached, we realized the door was already open. Someone was inside, whistling. Oh no, it's the janitor, Ethan whispered. Let's hide in the bathroom, Chloe suggested. It's already been cleaned, so he won't go in there. We slipped into the girls' bathroom and waited. After what felt like an eternity, we heard the janitor's footsteps fading as he went down the stairs. Okay, let's go, Ethan said. We entered the lab and began our search. Using Mark's master key, we opened the chemical cabinet and examined every single container. There were no sprays, no strange bottles, so we moved onto the refrigerator. What's this? I said. Tucked away at the back of the fridge was a plain spray bottle with no label. It was difficult to open, and the liquid inside had a strange, phosphorescent glow. Wow, this has to be Zyler's hypnotizing spray, Ethan said. But how can we be sure? We have to be sure, I said. Making a mistake could be fatal. An idea came to me. I can test the spray on my dog, Buddy. He hates taking baths, and he absolutely refuses to eat leftovers. I'll spray him, and if he doesn't put up a fight, we'll know we have the right spray. Excellent idea, Ethan said. Please call me as soon as you know the results. Me too, Chloe added. We carefully left the lab and the school building. When I got home, I prepared a big bath for Buddy. Buddy, Freddie, I called. The dog was in the backyard. The moment he saw me standing with a large basin of water, he started barking and howling, retreating into his doghouse. Silly dog, I thought. I took the spray, went to the doghouse, and gave him a quick spritz. Then I called him again, pointing towards the bath. To my amazement, Buddy calmly walked out of his doghouse and jumped right into the water. After his bath, I went to the kitchen, got some leftovers, and put them in his dish. Dinner time, Buddy, I said. He saw the leftovers and, without any protest, began to eat. It was incredible. I immediately called Chloe to give her the good news. Then I called Ethan. Hi Ethan, it's me. We have the right spray. Buddy is completely hypnotized. Great, he said. Listen, can you come over to my house now? I need to talk to you. There was a strange tone in his voice. Ethan, are you okay? I asked. Yes, I'm fine. I'll explain everything when you get here. Please, just come. It's important. I took the bus to Ethan's house. He was alone, as usual, sitting in his room with his cat, Shadow, cradled in his arms. I want to go to Metrax with Zyler, he said, his voice flat. What? Yes, I want to go to Metrax with Zyler, he repeated. Are you kidding me? You're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. Look at my life, Jess. My mother doesn't love me. She left and never looks back. How do you think that makes me feel? My father is always working. He wouldn't care if I was here or in Timbuktu. All he cares about are his young, blonde secretaries. At school, everyone thinks I'm a weirdo. You're my only real friend. I'm not happy here, Jess. Try to understand. This world isn't for me. I want to test my destiny, see what happens. And honestly, I don't really think Siler wants to hurt us. How can you possibly know that? I asked, shocked and angry. I just have a feeling. I'm sure the aliens just want to study us. I feel like I can trust them. Besides, you know how much I love space. I've always been fascinated by astronomy and alien life. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see life on another planet, in another galaxy. This is my dream, Jess. This chance will never come again. Listening to him, I started to understand, but it was still heartbreaking to think that Ethan felt so alone that this seemed like his only option. Running away to another planet isn't the right solution to your problems, I said softly. But I've tried to talk to my father about my problems. I've tried so many times and nothing has ever changed. Listen, Jess, I want to go to Metrax. I feel like it's the right thing for me. Something inside me is pushing me to go. Maybe, just maybe, this was the best thing for him. I still couldn't believe it. If you're really sure, I said, my voice trailing off. But I'll miss you so much. I'll never see you again. Nothing is forever, he said. You will see me again, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep, I said, tears streaming down my face. Believe me, Jess, sooner or later, when the next intergalactic door opens, I'll come back, and I'll have so many new things to tell you. He continued, laying out a new plan. Tomorrow evening, when Zyler takes the two students to the science lab, he'll open the refrigerator, but he won't find the spray. At that point, he'll be powerless. He can't touch us without electrocuting us. So he won't be able to study anyone, I interrupted. Exactly. So when he sees that his mission has failed, the only thing he can do is go to the airfield and leave with his spaceship. He can't stay any longer. I'm not going to the parent-teacher meeting. I'll be waiting for him at the airfield. I looked at my friend, my heart breaking. Good luck, Ethan. I'll be waiting for you. He picked up Shadow and gently placed the cat in my arms. I want you to keep him. Take care of him for me. He stepped closer to me, and for the first time, he kissed me. My heart pounded in my chest. Oh, Ethan, thank you for Shadow. Thank you so much. I stroked the soft black fur, and the cat began to purr. Chapter 9. Friday night. I went home, stopping by Chloe's house to return her brother's master key. I didn't sleep at all that night. I thought about the next day, about Ethan's decision, about Zyler, and about a cat named Shadow now purring at the foot of my bed. On Friday morning, I woke up feeling a knot of tension in my stomach. The day dragged on. During morning announcements, the principal reminded us of the meeting. Don't forget that this evening is the parent-teacher meeting. I hope to see all of you there with your parents. Sure, I thought grimly. And during the meeting, one of your teachers is going to try and kidnap two students to take them to another planet. When the school day finally ended, I went to the Rainbow Cafe with Ethan and Chloe. Ethan told Chloe about his decision. She was, of course, shocked and deeply disappointed. Those few hours we spent together were precious. I knew I would never forget that last afternoon with Ethan. Our friendship felt stronger than ever, bonded by the certainty of our impending separation. Finally, after dinner, my parents and I walked to the school. We sat down in the crowded auditorium, and the meeting began. At one point, I saw Mr. Evans get up and walk over to Chloe's family. I watched as he whispered something to her parents and then to Chloe. She stood up and followed him. Together, they walked over to Michael's family. Michael was another one of our classmates. I realized Zyler must have chosen him because Ethan was absent. I had noticed him scanning the room, looking for Ethan. Michael, Chloe, and Mr. Evans left the auditorium, so he didn't choose me, I thought. I glanced at my watch. 9:05. 25 more minutes. Suddenly, an overwhelming impulse took hold of me. I had to see what was happening. I stood up. Jess, where are you going? My mom asked. I'm just going to the science lab. Don't worry, I said, and quickly walked away. The door to the lab was closed. From inside, I could hear Mr. Evans opening the refrigerator. I could almost picture the look of rage on his face. Oh no, he exclaimed. Where is it? Where is what, Siler? Chloe's voice asked. Are you talking about the hypnotizing spray that you seem to have lost? She asked, her voice triumphant. What? You know? Siler sounded completely shocked. What spray? What are you guys talking about? Said Michael, who was clearly still in the dark. What courage Chloe has, I thought. Siler could have electrocuted her for that. But in the end, it seemed Ethan was right. Siler wasn't really a bad alien. Well, I don't think you need us anymore, Chloe said. The lab door opened and she walked out. Come on, Michael, everything's fine. Let's go back to the meeting. Then Siler came out. He looked utterly confused and defeated. I looked at my watch. Siler, it's 9:17. Though, don't miss your spaceship, I said, a strange feeling of compassion washing over me. Siler looked at me, even more surprised. Then he turned and ran towards the fire escape. At that moment, I thought of Ethan. I followed Siler down the fire escape stairs and out of the building. The old airfield was close to our school, so we both reached it by 9:24. The spaceship was already there, a dark, silent silhouette waiting for him. Its portal was open, but all its lights were off. The aliens from Metrax clearly didn't want to be seen. Ethan was there too. When he saw Siler, he ran towards him. Siler, wait, I want to come with you. Take me with you. You can study me. I know you won't hurt me. Siler was stunned. Come on then, Paul, hurry, he said, recovering from his shock. Ethan, I shouted. Jess, he ran to me, and we hugged tightly. This crazy adventure is finally over, he said. And thankfully, everything ended well for everyone. Think about me sometimes, I said, my voice choked with tears. I'll always think of you, he promised. And remember, I'll be back. Paul, Siler shouted. He was already on the ramp of the spaceship. The portal is closing. Have fun in Metrax, you space lover, I said, laughing and crying at the same time. Ethan ran up the ramp, and the portal slid shut behind him. The spaceship's lights flickered on, and it silently lifted into the dark night sky. I watched until it was just a tiny speck, and then it was gone. I hurried back to the school. My parents were still at the meeting, along with everyone else. No one seemed to suspect a thing. Chloe and Michael were sitting calmly with their parents. I slipped back into my seat next to my mother and father, smiling as innocently as I could. Today, 6 months have passed. Everyone at school now knows the truth about Mr. Evans, although not everyone completely believes my story. We have a new science teacher, a woman named Ms. Lundberg, who so far seems perfectly normal. Chloe and I have visited Mr. Harrison a few times. His relationship with our class has improved immensely, and he seems like a much happier person now, which makes me happy too. Michael is now Chloe's boyfriend, and they make a great couple. I still have the hypnotizing spray hidden away in my room, though I do sometimes use it on Buddy when he needs a bath. Shadow is now a beloved member of our family. Buddy is still a little jealous of him, but they're mostly friends. I told my parents the entire story. They seem to believe me, especially since no one has been able to find Ethan. His father looked for him at first, but he soon gave up. Sometimes, Chloe and I talk about Siler and our crazy adventure. We remember Ethan. On many clear nights, I go out into my backyard, look up at the star-filled sky, and think about him. Good night, Ethan, wherever you are. See you soon.